what's inside your form?
Here's interesting because I don't look at it like that.
Okay.
I think it's some might say, oh, my soul is in my body.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that your body's really, it's more accurate as far as my experience of reality that your body is in your soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's just utilizing the vehicle to operate in this time form space.
Mm-hmm. So
So
you
what's in, it's not necessarily in your body, let's just say what is connected to or integrate. And also some people, like you've heard this term to be like disassociation, for example, or to be embodied.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people are more in their bodies than other people are too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's where is your consciousness located?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to actually be in your body.
Okay.
Uh, so I'd say it's a partnership, right? Like, and this would be interesting actually, since you're bringing it up, I'd like to go look a little bit more into what maybe some of the more ancient technologies teach on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that there are some things I've read where they say if you measure the body before and after death, it does actually lose a slight amount of weight.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something that has some form of density that can be measured through weight that
Mm-hmm.
does leave the body.
Mm-hmm.
And I also witnessed my cat pass away when I was maybe 20 or something
Mm-hmm.
for his like really super last breath. I'm not sure if you've ever been around anyone when they take their last breath,
Mm-hmm.
but you do sort of feel a presence leave the body and just go up.
Oh,
That was my experience with that.
okay. Mm. Okay.
What is that? I mean, I'm not the expert on that per se.
So okay, so then when
But the
someone
soul, we could,
ceases, huh?
we could call it the soul. The
Okay.
soul is the body.
So when something ceases to live,
Yes.
is it still you? If you cease to live, is it still you? What this non-living
Well, you're bringing up a really interesting question, which is what is the definition of you? And that's
is
different for everyone, right? I
is
mean,
it?
that again, well, it is because I actually ask this question to people a lot with the work that I do. I'll say, okay, I'll say, Hollis, who's the you? What makes you you? Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
And then I usually pose that to question people don't like. If I ask that, how would you answer that?
I would say that I'm the sum total of my experiences, and my thoughts and ideas.
Sure.
Uh,
And you're also a body, right?
yeah.
But those things are stored in a physical way in your body. Your experiences are in your cellular memory and all of these
Mm-hmm.
things, right? So there's most of us though, if we've grown up in the West, we have a mentality which is starting to change and be exposed to other things, but it's based in materialism, not like materialism as hey, I need to have that Mercedes to feel good about myself, even though that's a byproduct of a materialist science based where we believe that, you know, you can't see it, but this table here, like, is more real
Mm-hmm.
than like this air here.
Yeah. I
So,
thought
right,
for a second I thought your thighs were really hard, right?
yeah,
Okay.
I've been going to a lot of Pilates. So, but what I mean, for example, is like when you talk to people from the West, they'll say, I have a mind because I have a brain.
Mm-hmm.
So the predominant reality is based in the physical, and versus in the East, where it's the opposite, you have a brain because you have a mind. Everything's seen first as mind is the most ultimate state.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring that up because when you say to most people, who are you? And when you're bringing in death, most people think that they end at perimeter of their body.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you've done some form of yoga or spiritual practice or meditation to like have the experience of actually like identifying with your electromagnetic field, which can, like we all have heat that comes off our body, but most of us don't go, oh, where do you end? If I said to you, where do you end? Most people will be like, here, like this perimeter of my physical body is where I end.
Mm-hmm.
Unless then can you take into consideration, oh, but I also have an aura. Do I
Mm-hmm.
end here in my physical body or do I actually end where my aura is?
Mm-hmm.
And that aura goes out infinitely in more and more subtle ways.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I mean,
process, right?
if
Like,
you if I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, we're just going to say that like it's sort of this concept of small SELF versus big SELF. Like, what is the self? or the you, the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you identify with yourself as being just hollis? Do I identify with myself as my personality being Naada? Or
Mm-hmm.
do I identify with myself as being the house that I'm living in,
Mm-hmm.
the car that I'm driving right
Mm-hmm.
now, all the way out to being the entire universe?
Mm-hmm.
And anyone can play with any of those levels of perspective of who they are. So depending on when your body ceases to have like chi or prana or vital life force, and the body is that, if you identify with your body as you, then yeah, but really it's just your body
Mm-hmm.
that's not alive anymore.
Mm. Well, this is what I was asking you, like,
Yeah.
because okay, if you're saying that there's any separation when you from your perspective, when you pass away, is there any separation of who you are and your body?
That has to do a lot with where your consciousness is
Mm-hmm.
as a personality, or having transcended identifying with yourself as a personality at
Mm-hmm.
the time of passing,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, this is why you have ghosts. Ghosts are stuck energy of someone, let's say, gets hit or like by a car. It's the shock of the system is so much that they don't even realize that they're like supposed to be transcending to another state,
Mm-hmm.
and they just get stuck in this cycle of identifying. That's why so many cultures have like cremation, because
Mm-hmm.
the idea is to actually get rid of the body as fast as possible, so
Mm-hmm.
there's no attachment for for lack of a better word, I will identify as a soul to want to come and try and get back in, because most people have such high attachment to their who they were as a personality in their body,
Mm-hmm.
that once the soul starts to leave, instead of going to a more ascended state or whatever that process is that happens after leaving the body, many souls are like, oh, I want to get back in my body. Oh, my body, my house, my kids, my wife, my this, my that, my job, and blah 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 blah. And then that's when you get a ghost. They like miss the opportunity to ascend, and they get stuck in the astral realm here on Earth, and they're like walking around trying. Like sometimes they don't even actually know that they've passed.
Mm.
So
Oh
that's
man.
man.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding of how that
Okay.
works.
Okay.
So, and then you have ascended masters, right? You have like these masters who are so unidentified with themselves as a name or a personality, and experience themselves and continually practice experiencing themselves as all that is, and non-attachment and these things. And these concepts of like the rainbow body, they let everyone know, like, I will be departing from my body on this date, and they have big ceremonies, and they like literally they say that like rainbow like shows up, and they just leave, and everyone's there for the ceremony, and their bodies have so much life force in them that they stay, like, instead of decaying, they stay like they're alive for some people up to hundreds of years.
See, I don't want to come in contact with any of this. This is no, no thanks. I don't want to be around any ceremonies where people are leaving the bodies and the body is hanging around and just sitting in the. No, 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 no.
It's not like a zombie. It's not like alive. It's just like sitting in a meditative pose.
Mm.
You know.
Well, what is it? It could be a zombie that's not moving.
You're hilarious.
I don't like any of this. This is
Why
going.
did you like it? I want to. Let's get into this.
Nah, no,
Why does it
because
make you fidgety?
you know why? Because the idea, this makes me think of the idea of being trapped in your own body.
Like, go on. Like, you mean like someone who's getting surgery and maybe the anesthesia doesn't work and they can't move, and they're like can feel everything trapped in their body?
Even if you can or cannot feel it, just that you can't, if you can't interact with the world and the world doesn't know that you can't interact with it, and then you're just stuck in this non-moving body, and it's not even decaying. Like, like on OK Cupid, right? They have this question about whether, would you want to be immortal? I think is the question or whatever. And I originally I thought the answer could be yes. Now I 65 is all I want to live. This is I'm good at 65. But
Really?
yeah, I'm good at 65.
Probably going to
Um
live longer than that. What will you do after 65?
I don't once I mean it may change as I get closer to this.
Right.
But right now, I think 65 is good. I think after this, it's like, then you start actually then this trapped in your body because like say if you have this vibrant mind and
Right. I see what you're saying.
your body can't do what you want it to do. This and to me this is already enough trouble. You know what I mean? Like this is already enough.
I agree
And
with you.
yeah. So the idea of being trapped in the body and not being able to interact with the rest of the world is like um it it's a little horrifying to me, you know what I mean? And the idea of like being immortal could be an interesting thought, but if you're immortal and you're like what was that movie where the dude got his arm stuck in the with the boulder? It was
I know what you're talking about. I don't know the title of the movie.
and his arm was stuck or whatever. And then what if you
James
stuck
Franco.
like yeah, you're stuck like this for the rest of your forever.
And
Like
nobody ever finds you.
yeah, like come on, man.
Eventually, I mean, you're immortal.
This is you know what I mean? Like
These are immortal problems, right?
yeah.
These are immortal problems.
More life, more problems. See, this is why I don't that's what I mean. Like I don't want to deal with all this. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I've done I left my mark. I touched a few people, figuratively, literally,
Mhm.
emotionally. I've done all of this, you know. What's left? And then it's like, you know, then old young people are going to be. I'm going to be old, and then like my younger relatives, they're going to be pinching me when nobody's looking and poking
Well,
me.
if you're immortal, like for me, I feel like immortal. Usually, you think like you would just stay young on some level. Like you wouldn't just keep getting older and older and older and older and older and older, but never die, right? I mean, I
See,
guess you have to really define what immortal means,
this is what would happen in the Twilight Zone. That
right?
you wouldn't just you know what I mean? Like what was that? There was some I guess the thing with the vampires or whatever immortals like you if you die naturally then you just die or whatever. But if you die of an unnatural cause then you stay the age that you died. And I guess this is kind of interesting or whatever. But that's what I mean. Like I just don't want to get. We don't know that immortal doesn't mean you just keep getting old.
Well, I will say this: it's interesting. There's such a movement right now for longevity and life hacking and what's going to make you live longer, longer, longer. And people are living
Mm-hmm.
like to older and older and being more and more fit, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like my mom, I will not tell you her age. I was about to, but then I realized I may be dead by the time like I'll never see you again, basically. So, you know, um, let's just say she's, an older woman and she looks really good. She's kept her body in shape. She's like moving to France right now and just like fell in love with someone and like
Ah,
her
damn! I thought
like
she
is
was.
like totally on point and she's
Mm-hmm.
enjoying herself and she can still move around and like she'll talk sometimes about having a little bit less energy and she sleeps a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But she's still doing a lot of stuff at her age.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen some people who are like in their hundreds even that are still like there's this one woman I saw a video, she's a choreographer for many years and she's still dancing. She can't do the same things, but she's still moving her body and
Mm-hmm.
enjoying her life. So that's one thing to think about. Like, but this idea of like preserving life for as long as possible is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it has been since the beginning of time, right? The concept of like the fountain of youth. Who can find this thing that will allow me to live forever?
Mm-hmm.
I more recently, and I was kind of in like people used to ask me like, how long would you? And I just kind of was like, I'm gonna live to 260.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like I'd always lived to 260. That was just what came out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And more recently, I thought, it's way more convenient to die early. You don't have to like plan for your retirement. Like I could spend more money now if I'm not like planning to live. Like, like
Mm-hmm.
there's just a lot of things that
Mm-hmm.
you like don't have to deal with if you choose to check out early.
Mm-hmm.
My
Yeah.
dad actually, he passed in his 70s
Mm-hmm.
and he used to eat butter every day. He
Yeah.
cooked all of his food in butter. And one, he liked the way it tastes.
Right.
And also he would literally say as he was cooking, my dad wanted to have a heart attack because my dad did not have good relationships with anyone. Like
Okay.
he really pissed pretty much everyone's life. And so he knew when he got older, he was not going to have anyone around to take care of him. And he would say to me, my dad had been in jail for a while. He would say to me, well, if all else fails, I'll just get myself back into jail because then like I don't have to pay for my bills and I'll have a roof over my ceiling and I'll get fed and stuff like that. Like that was my dad's retirement plan was like either get himself like back into jail or die before he
Yeah.
was able to take care of himself.
Yeah.
He just enjoyed his life and ate all the shit he wanted and clogged up his pores and he had a heart attack in his
Yeah.
70s.
Well,
It worked.
that's what I mean. Like that's what I mean. Like when I see people on the streets and it's like they're hunched over and they can't move and they can't walk. I don't know if I want to do all that. And this is the other thing. Like um, I think I don't have any children myself. Like I don't know who's going to take care of me. Like you know what I mean? Who's going to take care of me? That's what I mean. I think they're going to be somebody's gonna be like keeping me up in the bedroom and like poking me like I don't know, like putting a feather on my nose and tickling it and I can't move and it just what I mean, like they're gonna be doing stuff like that, giving me wet willies.
What kind of things did you do to your grandparents? Like, I feel like, where did you get all of these ideas of like, did you watch some like after school movie about like elderly abuse or something?
No, but yeah, I think I did. I think this
You
was
must have.
I
There's
feel
no way.
like I don't know. No, I didn't. No, yeah. I don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk it. I feel like when you get